welcome to Getting Real with John Natale. I'm your host, John Natale. Today, guys, with an unbelievable interview. If you've been thinking in your mind, you not only want to be a successful real estate agent, you also want to be a great real estate investor. Today's guest is going to walk you through how to do it all. This was an unbelievable conversation. I am so excited for you guys to listen to it. I have John Vanorsdale from West Virginia. He absolutely crushes it in both the real estate game and in real estate investing. And I'm pumped for you to hear this episode. Before we dive in, though, I have to take a minute to thank you. One, for just listening to this podcast or watching if you're on YouTube. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, absorb the information. Our mission here at Getting Real and our entire Natale companies is to fundamentally redesign the real estate industry. We've made unbelievable progress over the last year. We are making waves in this industry, and I'm appreciative that you are part of our journey each and every week listening to Getting Real. If you can take this one step further, share this podcast episode, share it to your Instagram story, share it on social media. I'd be even more appreciative of you. If you could rate us 5 stars, if you could hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube, anything you can do to further our mission, I just grow more and more appreciative of what you're doing. This doesn't happen just from my own effort. This happens with all of your support. You guys have supported me so damn much over the last year as we've done this. We're closing in on a year of Getting Real. We have probably another couple of months to go before we get to that year mark, but we're bringing you some really great interviews with people doing the work now. One thing that I'm really focusing on in any of these interviews that I bring on, this isn't people who were successful in 2015, who got out of the industry and don't even know what they're doing anymore. This is people in the grind now, building brands, building businesses, growing their life. That is what we are about. And if you are listening to this episode and you are interested in joining our Natale family, whether you're here in New Jersey and you want to join our real estate company, we just launched our completely 100% compensation for real estate agents here in New Jersey. We're redesigning the game. We are redesigning the brokerage model. If you are interested in joining or want to just discuss it with me, there's a form down below to get that information and to discuss it with me. If you're in one of the other 49 states or in another country across the world, and you are looking for an unbelievable way to not only grow your real estate business, but grow your real estate brand, grow your life, that is what Natale Coaching is for. So myself, we have now 4 coaches, as well as me, that will help you grow your brand, grow your business, and grow your life. You can book a discovery call personally with me, all below in the links below, to get more information and to book a call. It's all down there. Guys, we just launched natalecoaching.com. You could head there as well. That has plenty of information, makes it very, very simple for you to go ahead and book your discovery call with me. And we are looking forward to helping you grow this year, the rest of 2024 into 2025. But enough for that today, guys. Let's dive in to this episode with John Vanorsdale in West Virginia. Like I said, we have an amazing guest here, John Vanorsdale from West Virginia. And the reason I wanted to have John on today, guys, is not only is he a fantastic real estate agent, he's someone who's doing a great job growing his brand, growing his business. He's also a really successful real estate investor, specifically doing some rental properties, but specifically flipping homes, making profits, and done such a tremendous job investing. And that's why I wanted to have him on today. John, welcome to Getting Real.
Hey, thank you, John. I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely. So let's just dive right in. I know you have a lot of history. I want you to give me a little replay of John's career up until real estate. What got you into real estate?
Honestly, I was interested in real estate. I remember my first business, I was 13 years old. I had a paper route, and I learned that because I had a paper route that I could advertise the paper free. I found that out because my parents had a yard sale. I got to put it in the paper free. I was like, wait a minute, I can advertise it free. So it just got crazy, but around 13. I opened up a worm business I actually dug worms up, had it for fishing worms, and I advertised in the paper. And people came by my house and bought them. So at 13, I was already thinking about, okay, how can I do business thing? And I didn't come from a family that had that. My family was blue collar, heart of America type people. And so didn't really have anybody to help me. I just thought, I'm going to try this. And so even as a young age, I knew that. And it didn't take very long for me to start looking around and think, I hate to be in real estate because that's where investment seems to be making it. And honestly, my number one thing I wanted back then was I wanted to own my own trailer park. I thought that's a gold mine. It didn't take a rocket science to figure out you have 300 lots and each one's paying you $300 a month. Dear Lord, that's a lot. You live on the trailers. You just own a piece of property. So even back then, I knew I wanted to be in investments.
No, that makes sense. And what were you in before real estate?
Well, I joined the U.S. Navy. So I'm a veteran. United States Navy. That 4 years. Actually, you get to travel. Then after, you get into the 10th share. Here, right? It's after, substance. That's I about like Jim and two other that's like kids or 13 the box and had the same thing about Calvin. And but it was both I think I loved their hands helped with them. I still in touch with them a lot of how I love that. And so this opportunity at a local school opened up. They were creating a criminal justice program and wanted someone to build a program for high school students to do that. And so I threw my hat in the ring thinking they probably won't hire me anyway, but they did. And so I did that for 22 years. And while I was still there, I knew that I was I'd think about something else. And I'd always been involved in real estate. I've been in investment, like in rental properties. It's like got in and out of things. And so something I thought I want to do that, at my retirement goal, thinking I would do it, be a part-time and it would take up that much of my time. But, it was a good mistake. But so I started while I was teaching, and teaching is actually a pretty good platform. You get the real estate, one, you have a lot of people, and two, you're done by 3 o'clock every day. So you have the whole whatever, and you have summer off. So it actually worked out pretty well to start my real estate career while I was teaching. And so for the last 5 years of teaching, I last 4 years, I was actually in real estate too.
That's fantastic. So you're teaching, which I totally agree. I hear that, and I see it all the time. Some of the best real estate agents are former teachers. And I think if we're all being honest, I think the reason why is because you have to do a great job educating people. Like a lot of people think,
I think so.
I think real estate salespeople are salespeople, but really we're in the education business. We're in educating people to make informed decisions, and the better you educate is the better options and solutions you give, which is what teaching is, the better real estate professional. Would you agree?
I agree with that. And I think the deputy side also helps too, because building clientele, I think the teaching side, you're correct. Getting houses to closing is complete problem solving because they're always problems, always. And as a deputy, well, that is your job. I was a problem solver. I just, I have the power to solve problems right now. That's why you have police officers, because they can do something now. So taking 6, 7, 8, 10 months in a courtroom, they can do something now. So you become a problem solver. So I think the combination of those two helped tremendously.
I totally agree. And it reflects, I think, from knowing you a little bit, I think it reflects a lot on your personality as well. So that history is really cool. Go into, if you don't mind, what that 4-year transition point, because you're not teaching anymore. So you're transitioned out of a career. When did you know the time was right to transition full?
Well, I guess I have to kind of go back a little bit when I first started doing real estate. And my first year was terrible. I was terrible. I didn't really have anybody to teach me anything. I had figured out my own, and it was, I seriously thought I'd quit. I was like, all I'm doing is paying money. Because it costs money to be real estate. It costs quite a bit, So I figured that. I looked at it, it was cost me a lot more than I was paying. I think my first year, I made $25,000 paper. I think it cost me $30,000. It's crazy. I don't know the exact number, but it wasn't good. So I actually get out of it. Then a friend of at Keller Williams called me into giving them a try. They said, listen, you went to all trouble, get your license, you got all the stuff going on, throw it away. It doesn't make any sense. Come here, give us 6 months. If you still want to quit, walk away. Well, those 6 months were like a transition. They had training, they had all kinds of technology to use, they had, just stuff, to help me. And it literally flip-flopped it. All of a sudden I started being a little successful. Not great, but I was getting there. And by the second year, I was actually doing pretty well. Point of telling you that is one of the guys that worked at Keller Williams that was like one of the top. He was very big in living house. And I knew from day one that's something that I was very interested in. And meeting him and talking to him, sure, that's definitely what I want to do. And so I just asked him to help. And he was a super nice guy and he helped me stuff. I don't know what to do, how to do it, how to find things, investment, money, all kinds of stuff. So I'll never forget, it had me sign up with his company with a specifically real estate, I guess, line of credit, and they specialize in being able to bring people into flipping and then either selling them or even converting them into rental. So I applied for them with them to get started. And I'll never forget, it was like one of the happiest days of my life. And I got this paper from them and it said, you've been approved for a $660,000 line of credit. I was like, I can buy it. I was so excited, and so he helped me quite a bit and start from there and build and kept going. So you asked the question why I think, well, the real estate side took off. And I started becoming really busy. That whole part-time thing didn't exist anymore. Now I'm working full-time. So I'm a full-time teacher and a full-time real estate agent. Well, then the flipping thing took off a lot faster than I expected. We're talking, it took off fast. So now I'm working 3 full-time jobs. I couldn't do it. I remember being so exhausted. So just drained that I couldn't do anything. And I was like, I can't. Well, I want to. It was great, but I can't physically do it. So I retired for teaching. I contacted my brother who was living in Arizona at the time, asked him to come back the flipping side with me, 50-50. It'd be like the Property Brothers on TV show, you see, where I would do the real estate side. He would handle the boots on the ground. And so he came back and we started that and it's been great ever since. So that's basically the two things I do now. I do the real estate and I do the flipping.
No, it makes sense. And when you were let's start with the real estate, and then we're going to go into the investment side, right? So when you got into being a real estate agent, the first year was a little rough. Second year got a lot better once you got into investments. Now, I also just know this from me personally. You still, not all of your business comes from your investments, and sometimes, and that's why I'm, really wanted to have you on. You still pour your heart and soul into helping someone buy their first home, fix their credit, and get a home.
Absolutely.
What drives you in terms of helping people right now get into homes, sell their homes, when you have success on the investment side?
Well, I think it comes back to my personality. I'm just a service type of guy. I was in the sort of military side of that. As a deputy, I always think of the deputy different than regular, like a state police or a city officer. We're like the people's police. The sheriff is elected, and you're there to help people. Not the other police officers don't help people, but their main job is to enforce the law. We're deputies' main job is not necessarily to enforce the law. We do enforce the law, but really we're helping. We're, supporting the courts and things. So we're there to help people mostly. And then as teacher, of course, I'm serving the public. I used to be the guy who helps other people succeed and get what they want and get a personal reward from seeing that. That's what drives me. I truly, truly enjoy, the whole aspect of helping them be successful. I think you're as a real estate agent, and I think all of us know that as you expect your career, most of us go into the listing side because that's where you make better money. You don't have to spend near as much time. I still don't like it near as much. I do it, but working with buyers is just more fun. And yes, it puts a ton of miles on my car. It takes a lot of time. I get it. And therefore I don't make quite as much money. I don't care. I do well, but I just enjoy it. Closing day when you're with a buyer is one of the most exciting things there are. It's just, you're excited, they're so happy. And just to be a part of that and get to do it often, it's really not much better.
Yeah, I love that. And I always see the closing with a buyer more a hopeful feeling, right? Like there's a lot of like hope at the closing table where the seller who just, we're all being honest, like just walked away with a fat check for their house.
Yep.
Like they're like,
Exactly.
all right, yeah, great. Like it's weird because you would think the seller who's getting so much more would be much happier. But I've always found, especially in this market where it is really hard to buy your first home, or just buy a home in general.
The first time buyer.
Yeah, it means a lot to them. So, question for you: as you've got on in your real estate career, so just for context, how many years have you been just solely a real estate agent? 7 years. And so it took 1 year, a little bit of rough. Second year, got into flipping, and then it's been kind of running ever since.
Well, actually, I didn't get into flipping probably till the end of 21. So it was in my fourth year when I got flipping.
Okay, so that was a transition period where the second year we went to Keller Williams. We got a little bit better. We got a lot of training. We became a better real estate agent. Things were taking off. And then where things really ramped up were...
I guess it was beginning of 21.
Was 21. Okay. So still, it's been, believe it or not, it's been 3 full years, right? So time's flying here. In that time, so you've been a real estate agent for 7 years. Took off around 2021 where the investment side really, exploded. What was one huge mistake you made as a real estate
agent? I guess I really haven't had a lot of mistakes, but the biggest mistake I definitely, and I still make it, is not doing the follow-up paperwork, especially with the CRM and things like that. I'm terrible with that. I hate it. That's why I'm terrible at it, because I hate that part. I'll do what I have to do, and just that part. And I do wish that I was better at that. And if I have to work on something, that'd be it. But I don't want to work on it because I hate it.
No, it makes sense. But now I know this about you. But you also just hired someone, right, to help you on some of that front, right? Some of those weak areas.
Absolutely.
Tell the audience a little bit about what you hired, what they're doing, because I think, again, real estate agents are listening to this across the country, and they just heard what everybody all feels, right? Not necessarily always just like the paperwork, the transaction side of things, but there's always an area in which agents don't like this job, and that's okay, and that's perfectly fine. But what you need to do, in my opinion, I talk about this a lot on this podcast, in my content, is you need to find the help so it doesn't bog down your time. And if you hate doing something, especially if it's like a $20 an hour job or a $15 an hour job, you're going to hate doing a $15 an hour job, which is exactly why you didn't get into real estate, right? Share with the audience a little bit about who you hired and what they've helped you with so far.
Well, so I hired a transaction coordinator. They're starting to flow. I tried to go in one before, just worked out pretty well. And, with her, everything's all fine. And so basically she handles all of my basically communication stuff, making sure that everything's done on time. She handles follow-ups, setting out emails, creating Canva posts for me to put on Facebook and Instagram, things like that. She creates basically a whole spreadsheet, keep me in mind, because I got 17 days going on. I forget one up. She's like, hey, did this. So honestly, her biggest role for me is to keep the ball rolling, to make sure I don't miss something, like a deadline for a home inspection or a termite or some whatever. She keeps everything before you contact. What it says on the contract, that's what she's expecting to get done. If it doesn't, as it gets close to that day, she's bugging me, she's bugging the other agent, she's bugging her, she's a bug, make sure it gets done. So that's kind of what I need so far. I'd say what I want to do, but been great so far. It's really helped her.
No, it's fantastic, and that's what I wanted our audience to hear. Right? Is the
it frees up your time. I guess that's the thing. The time is
especially if it's stuff that has to get done, right? Whether it's a personal assistant, transaction coordinator, showing agent, it's somewhere when you start having a lot of success, you can either keep your business at the same level and keep working just as much, or you can get to the next level and work a little bit less. And I think that's what, and you don't necessarily need to be building out a team. John's not someone who's building out this big grand team. He loves keeping things himself, smaller, However, having some leverage pieces is really important as you grow. And like John said, he has his real estate sales business, he has his investment business. There's a lot of time that takes. So finding someone to help.
Well, that was the other thing. You asked three things, and the one difficulty that I had, and I struggled with, and I think I've finally come up with something that works, but is juggling both of those for time consumption. Hiring a transaction coordinator did help tremendously because I'm not spending near as much time sending emails out. But handling how do you do this? Because when I'm trying to do something in real estate, something pops up on flipping. I'm trying to handle something on flipping, something pops up on real estate. I'm like, just going back and forth every day. So I had to come up with something to solve that problem. And basically, what I did was I created days. I tried to do blocking. Like I did, okay, my morning block on Monday was this, my afternoon block, that didn't work. It just doesn't seem to work. For me, it didn't anyway. I tried it every week you could think of, it just didn't work. So what I did instead was real estate would be strictly but this strict, and that I'm working. It's not sitting. That doesn't mean I can't think they should be all up, because they are as done. By the Monday and Thursday, dedicated. By Tuesday and Friday are dedicated to flipping. Those days, out to the my brother, contact that are investing with us. I contact, our contractors. I'm organizing whatever these as trying to keep things going, fast. So they're dedicated. Weekends are kind of open for whatever's needed, mostly real estate. And then Wednesday is my day off. I've been really trying to be strict about that. And because if I don't, I have zero time. And I can't not have any time. I brain. So I've been really strict enough hard. That's extremely hard to do. To take a day off, not have this day constantly. Don't get me wrong. When we get to some other parts here, I ain't going to talk about it, but on my day offs, this thing put aside. So that's kind of how I've done things. And it seems to be working really well. Having a dedicated day that I know I'm doing this makes it so much easier to try to block both things on every day. It just wasn't working.
Yeah, I think that's a gold mine of great advice, especially if you are someone listening that either owns possibly multiple businesses, right? Maybe real estate is one thing that you do, not the thing you do. Maybe you're someone like John who invests and does real estate as. Maybe you're someone in leadership. Like even if you're a broker like me, maybe there's certain days that working on the brokerage is what you're doing. And maybe some days where you're actually still a real estate agent is the thing, right? I think that's some great advice, and it is hard juggling it all at once. So I like the approach of doing it a day at a time kind of way, and also that you prioritize your day off, because we all know in real estate, whether you're investing, you're in real estate sales, the weekends are really not time loss. Your phone's going off. Even at best, your phone is going off all weekend.
On Sunday, I don't plan things on Sunday on purpose, but I know that I'm available on Sunday. So guess what? It happens. But I would try not to plan anything on a Sunday unless I have a client who says, "Hey, I can make it Sunday."
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah.
That's awesome. So on the real estate sales side, let's wrap this up, this side of it. What was your biggest success, best story, funny story? What's something that you think the audience wants to hear?
I had some clients who wanted to move to West Virginia from Maryland, which, by the way, is probably the bulk of my newer clients trying to escape Maryland, get to West Virginia. But this particular set of clients, they wanted something in West Virginia, but they also had to sell their house in Maryland. I'm not licensed in Maryland, and they were not out. So it was a good little distance too. They went to put their house on the market, and they had a need to come by at 12. It just so happened while they were I was way Mexico vacation. So in many cases, Mexico aren't great. And at that time, I had a different transaction for it. And so this agent went to them. This is during COVID, you know how Went to them, looked at their house and said, you can't sell this house. You need to repaint everything gray. You need to take out this. Yeah, you need to renew your entire kitchen. Your kitchen was actually not it. All this stuff. It was like a whole scared the crap out of them. So while I'm away in Mexico, they call and say, we're not going to be able to sell our house for about a year because we have to do all the stuff to it. So we need to back out of the contract buying it. Well, because I'm not here, the transaction coordinator just said, okay, that's what they said, and sent everything out to cancel. I was like, no, that's not how things work. I will take care of it. This is not okay. Stop everything. Do not move forward on anything. And so they'd already sent out emails, those stuff. I was like, stop it all. Send out no new emails. Stop everything. When I get back, I'll take care of it. Do not do anything. So I get back, and my broker at the time, he was licensed in Maryland and West Virginia as well. And so I told him, I was like, hey, I got to look at this house. Can you put it on the market for me? You list it. He's like, John, I don't want to go to Baltimore. He said, but I'll tell you what I'll do. You go down there. You do all the work. You do everything. I'll list it. I even give you the commission. I don't want to be involved. Other than I'll look over the paperwork, but that's it. I was like, I don't want to go to Baltimore either, but okay. This is what you got to do, right? So I go to Baltimore and I look at their house. Their house was really nice. And I was expecting to walk into a muddy pit hole because the way it is stopped. I told them, I don't know what this cost. I don't understand it. I'm looking through here, and what I see is something totally different. There are a couple of repairs needed made. You can make them this weekend. And it was like simple stuff. Like really simple. I said, you don't need to paint. You don't need to get artwork full. I was like, let us go step forward. See how it goes. I don't think it's going to last 2 weeks. They're like, but he said, I know what he said. I know he said you can't sell it. He's hauled. I don't know why he told you. I said, let's see what happens. If what's happening, you can't sell it. We're not. But if we can sell, you get to you sell your house. I'm most opinion. Everybody's happy. They're like, okay, go ahead and try it. First weekend we had Bible. Literally first week. We didn't make it to the weekend, and we ended up selling it for all cash at like $40,000 above asking. Which I knew was going to happen. It was a nice neighborhood. It was a very nice. When you're near Baltimore, there's only so many.
Yeah.
There was a very nice neighborhood. It was just fantastic. So we ended up selling it for $40,000 more than asking, all cash. And we got to buy the house in West Virginia. They just contacted me a couple weeks ago because they updated some stuff there and wanted to show me. But that was it was one of those things where had it been somebody else who did have the mindset of solving problems, that would have been a lost deal. It would have been gone. Well, I turned it into two. So that's probably one of my favorite success stories there.
Yeah, that's amazing. And a real testament, like you said, to solving problems. If you're great, you don't have to be a great real estate agent. To be a great real estate agent, you have to solve problems, offer solutions, and then
think outside the box.
Let clients come up with what they want to decide to do. You're the problem solver, giving options.
Right.
Absolutely love that. Let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about the investment stuff.
Okay.
So you've been successfully in the investment space, we'll call it, since late 2020, 2021, around then. How many homes have you flipped so far?
22, 23, and I'm buying 3 more next week.
Okay. So again, not hundreds, but also very, very successful with what you've done in these 3 short years, right? As you've had a successful real estate sales business, right? That's what's cool about John, is the fact that he has both. Like the sales does really well, and the investments does well, and both together offer him what I see, a great life, a very successful financial life as well. So on the investment side, let's start here. What was your biggest mistake? Did you ever lose money? Whatever, what's the worst thing that ever happened with the flip so far?
Well, the worst one was we did flip about the income, and the worst one was this house. And the sad part of it was a beautiful house that we should have made a lot of money on it. On paper, everything's wonderful. Still, and everything's wonderful. Things always work out with paper. So we had the house sold to a VA client, and they did the VA inspection, dug down on the ground a little bit, and we didn't even know this was a thing. house was built on top of an old cistern. It was actually part of the house, the old cistern. Outside of it, underground, at Keep, whatever, but no Indians. It's just a cistern. Because it doesn't even tell us it's just more obviously. So it's this old thing that was there. But since it was actually a piece of the foundation, if you dig it out, like, it was a big enough hole, and then you had this big underground, like a little spare basement. And so we're like, well, so that was the end of that deal. And so now we hadn't solved this problem. And, they wanted us to get engineers involved, get all this stuff done, and all these different inspectors had to come check things out. And again, problem solving, what finally got us out of it was like, hey, look, it's basically a foundation. What if I shore it up, I just fill it full of concrete? Just bring trucks over and we'll just fill the whole thing up. And it'll just be one big giant concrete block now holding the house up. That's not going to crumble. The house will be very secure. So that's what we ended up doing. But that took months of going back and forth with, planning commission and different things to try to solve this problem. And they really didn't like the idea that I was going to fill it with concrete, but they couldn't come up with a reason not to let me.
Yeah.
So, so it's one of those things where it's like, well, we're doing it. So we did it. We filled the whole thing up with concrete, and that ended up doing it. So now we had to sell it. And of course, I suppose that information, that's what it did. So that scared people away. Even though the house turned out. It was actually one of my favorite designs for it. It's in the way out there. So we ended up having to sell it, dag on year for what we put into it. But the reason you lose money is because one of the things we do is hard money lending. So you're only paying interest, and it's not cheap. So we had that house for, probably 9 or 10 months, where our normal house is only 3, so you're paying, say $1,000, $1,500 a month interest on a house, and you have it for 9 or 10 months. That adds up quick, so that's probably the biggest thing you have to worry about is speed, time. You get things coordinated, you keep things going, because the longer it sits there, the more money it's costing you. Literally.
Well, and so the reason you lost money was mostly because the time held, rather than, because you kind of just broke even, but it cost you essentially $10,000 just to hold it for those months.
Yeah.
I had another question, but I actually think this is a good time to talk about this. How do you structure, because again, I want this to be tactical information for a real estate agent that also wants to invest. One, I know you mentioned in there hard money. You mentioned before the line of credit that you got to start it, which is
right.
More or less like kind of like hard money. Have you ever used your own money on a deal? And also, where does most of the money come from now in terms of every deal that you do?
Okay, to that effect, like really important that I do want to put that out. One, I have never put down my front ever. I won't. Yes, I did, but my brother about to become successful. Well, and like as I got to the point, I was thinking, I don't need to borrow. Just that make it, that'll save us $12,000. It was the worst decision ever. Things happen to think of. It's like, not only is my place tied up, deals come. I can't act on because my money's all tied up. Other opportunities are right. Can't do anything about it. And then the headache of worrying about being able to pay bills is not the same thing, not the same headache as worrying about, oh my God, I'm going to go, it's a different headache. Not that those aren't important. You're stressed a little bit. But when it's your own money involved, it's a lot more stressful. That was a mistake I made one time that I would never make again. I tell people, anybody who listen, they decide they want to do this, never help God, ever use somebody else's money. I've heard that since I was a kid. I've listened to investment tapes. I read books. With everyone I'm saying, use somebody else's money to make money. It's your own money. I've read that and seen that forever. It didn't truly sink in until I did have all the Bible. And it was scary. So I was like, oh my God, what if it doesn't, normally I don't think that way too much, but then like, what if it doesn't sell? What if, all that stuff, it's like, it starts to worry you a lot more. So I don't do that. I don't. I'll find a way to get investors. There's tons of them. Yeah.
Where do you typically, do you use like a online source for hard money? Are there local guys by you that do it, that you call
I've
upon?
done both. I've done both. I mostly use a local guy. He's the Italian guy with tons of money and check career lifestyle. He's a fantastic and basically kind enough to give people like an opportunity to go out to be successful. That's kind of what drives down. Yes, once she had done he's successful. And so basically, almost exclusively. Now it's one of the great things about both guys is fast. I come to someone and offer cash. We can say, look, we can close 10 days. We could be there. And it's just like kind of cash out of your pocket at that point because you have this guy and we're buying Robert says this section. If it's the same, her own section, it'll be walk through it. But I've bought houses without it like it's out of, if it's a good enough deal. Sometimes it feels so good. The house, when the whole entire house will fall down. It's a good enough deal that it's absolutely bought it out. Buy it, rip it out, but it's still a good deal. So I've done that for, but having the ability to fast fast. One of the things you don't have online as well. You can move fairly fast. You can do it faster in 30 days, but it's usually at least 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks, to get to closing. And when you're in this business, other people are walking in offering cash in 10 days, and if you got to wait 4 weeks, they're going with the other guy even less. So having that leverage to be able to go fast makes a big difference. A little more expensive, but it makes it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Are you financing and using hard money for the down payment, the obviously purchase price, and the everything, and the fix up everything? So you're not spending $1 of your money. So only I'm going to ask you this question, even knowing the answer, but just for our audience, to say you get a hard money loan for $250,000, you fix up the house, and it breaks even. Say you lose $5,000 on the deal. That's the only time you have to come out of pocket with money, is if you end up losing at the end, correct?
Correct. And I also have a business that we do everything through. So even they would come from the business pocket, not my pocket.
Yeah.
Which granted, I own the business, so but you do keep those separate.
Yeah. It's a write-off, right?
Correct.
From
Absolutely.
So and when you get to a high enough level, you are gonna, I don't think anybody, I've never met an investor that's 100% has made tons of money on every single investment.
Absolutely.
A good amount, you make a decent amount. Some you absolutely crush it. Those are the great ones. And few, you hit snags. You hit a cistern underneath. You got to fill with concrete, and it takes you 10 months to sell. Exactly. You take down a wall and find out it's about to collapse, and put in extra money on things that you didn't expect to be there. So that's really good advice, to make sure you're using other people's money. How would you tell if someone's new to this, right? So obviously there are plenty of online resources for this. There's a lot of online lenders. Some of them, though, if we're being honest, like in the very beginning, may make you put, unless the deal is that good and you can prove it, may make you put some money into the deal at first. Knowing someone locally, I think, is what really helps. And one thing I've found is, if you have a good enough deal, you could always find the money. But if you were talking to someone who's just about to start, how would you have them go about finding someone? Do they go to some networking events, talk to financial advisors, see if there's anyone, just talk to some friends?
You can go online too and find companies that'll do it that way. So if that's what you have to do first, then do it. The one thing that's hard to do with the online company is you got to have a significant amount of money in the bank already. You've got to have 20, 30, 50,000 sitting in the bank you're not using before they'll even talk to you.
Yeah.
You can't go in there with $500 in your savings account, 5,000 in your checking, and expect to get help. They're not going to help. Because with that, every great, let's say 600 or above, and if have keep it 20, 30, 40,000 sitting there, and your credit score, they'll give you that line of credit. So not only house, but also they'll fix it up too. So you can do that, but you've got to be ready for it. Just apply like we would regularly. Most guys, we're probably not into the business. We probably have I didn't invest this required. But if we don't want to get into it, it's best thing to do is file somebody here. Talk where you get hard money. You'll find that a lot of flippers are closed mouths. And I'm not giving away my secrets, because it's good. But you'll find something that will actually share with you their information, and they make contact with that person. which is what I did. And, yeah, so once I made contact, we structure everything up and been going great ever since. But there are a lot of investors. I don't live in that big of an area. Martinsburg, our county, Berkeley County, I think has about 160,000 people in it now. And there's multiple people here that will lend you money. They're individuals that are here. They will give you money to do it. If, now you may have to have a co-signer or somebody who's done it before. My daughter comes now and getting into this. And so her first flip, I co-signed with her because they know me. And so she's handling everything, but I'm on the loan with her as a guarantor, to do that. So you may or may not have, but there's different ways about doing it. But anytime you're going to get into flipping, number one thing you've got to have secured upfront before you think about looking for a property is financing of some sort, whatever it's going to be. Again, there's multiple companies. There's tons of companies online that do it. But there's, and another way you can get involved is there's a thing called a signing. And I've got a lot of properties for people who sign contracts. So what that is somebody who doesn't have the 50 grand in the bank. It doesn't have the credit score. They don't have the local lender giving them money. So what they do is they go find deals and they get them under contract. And my contract's a one-page contract. It's not like a real estate. My real estate contract with the realtor, it's huge. But these are cash deals. It's a one-page contract. And so I go and find a house. You may have to ask 15 people before you can find. That's okay, but you find a house that you really think you can flip. You get it for as cheap as you possibly can. Sometimes you get them in pretty bad shape. You can get them for $30,000 or $40,000. Some of them not. But let's just say you found one for $50,000. So you find it for $50,000. You don't have the ability to flip it yet. But there's a ton of people in your area that are flipping right now, and they're looking for property. Hey, people, they contact me all the time. See, it's sweet. I actually have 4 I'm buying, but I'm signing one of the contracts to somebody else and only buying 3. I'm making much sign it. So the way that works is, let's say, find this house for $50,000. You call the local flippers in your area, and I know people get scared. What if they don't buy it? I promise you, someone will buy the contract. Yeah. We're begging for them. So, and then you take that contract and you assign it to a flipper for say $70,000. Well, you just made $20,000 and you didn't touch the house. You never take possession of it. You never pay an interest. You never pay anything because it never goes to you. You're only selling this piece of paper, and it does work. I promise you. I buy them from people multiple times, and I've also sold them multiple times. Because sometimes when you find a deal, it's a guy who has rental properties and wants to get out of it or whatever. Well, a lot of times they have multiple. And so they want you to buy them all. Well, get them all under contract immediately. Don't wait. Come up with a price. Get them under contract. Go shop that contract around. You'll be amazed. People will be bidding against each other to get the contract. I promise. There's a lot of money in flipping, and you can't flip if you don't have a house.
So that one-page contract you write up obviously has seller, owner information, your information as, I guess, per se, a buyer, right? Let's play worst case scenario. You say you agreed to buy this house for $50,000 and there is no buyer for it, right? What do you do in that case?
Contact sorry, can't buy it. Or ask for it.
And if could they possibly sue you over that, depending on the state, because you entered into some sort of written agreement and didn't close?
I had a feeling that they probably could. I don't think most people ever have to worry about that. I've never even come close to anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I knew it was clear in West, according to my contract, they could force, they look those steps something better. But there's also a lot of precedent case. West Virginia is never going to force somebody to sell a house or force somebody to buy a house. It's just never going to.
Yeah.
Is that right to the conspiracy? It's not, but I've seen enough. But no one's going to force you to buy a house, especially if you can't afford it. I mean, what judge is going to say, you got to pay me $50,000 for this house?
Yeah.
You got $20 here.
Yeah.
Never going to happen. The only real risk is like early presentation of having this and then not being able to fulfill it, and then no one else, people hear about that, they may not deal with it. That's the biggest risk, really. But I've never had that issue. I mean, ever. every single time I've had a house under contract, it goes. But I usually have multiple people saying, "Hey, I'm interested. I'm interested. I'm interested."
Yeah.
So I promise you, there's a look at HGTV called Shit or Flipping. See that they need the people. So there's a lot of people flipping houses, and they are begging for property.
No, it makes sense. And I think there's always ultimately a buyer that will, at least as long as you did your research, right? And again, the audience listening is real estate agents, right? So we all know if it's a good deal or not a good deal, right? Like, so
Exactly.
it's, you don't go, all the comps are 150, you don't go and pay 175 and say you're going to sign that contract to a flipper, right? This is for usually distressed properties or estate sales in some situation, that they have to sell and getting that, quick cash offer or something like that. And I also think in the meantime, if you get, obviously every state is different, but here in New Jersey, you have 3 days, even without an attorney, to cancel a contract. So if I'm a rookie doing this, like I'm just putting myself in that person's shoes, I notice a really good deal. It's an estate sale. It's they have to get out quick. I put a contract together, a 1-page agreement, not our real estate, New Jersey Association of Realtors contract, 1-page agreement. Hey, I would love to buy your house. Here's what I'd love to buy it for. Here are the terms. In New Jersey, you have 3 days. Cancel. So if you're an absolute rookie and really concerned about it, you got 3 days to find someone that you can assign that contract to. Realistically, worst case scenario. So, and if you don't, then you just cancel the deal with the seller, and you have no obligation to that regardless. So that's one way if you're worried about assigning.
Here's the second part to that is that once you sign this contract, well, you'll get to go to those because that's where you'll get to see where they got their money. So if you don't know where your local lender is, now you do.
Yeah.
You can get that information from there. And then now you can make contact with them and say, hey, I was at this closing because I signed the contract. I noticed you guys did the lending. I'd like to talk to you about that. Oh, they're happy to talk to you. That's how they make their money, is lending you money.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a good way to find out. And it's an easy way to get started. And there's people here that's their career as they find property.
Yeah, you never have to touch them. You find out the system that you can call people, find the distressed sellers, find the estate sales, and
there's programs that you can use on that too. There's actual apps and everything to help you find properties. There's all kinds of stuff. And I mean, let's say you do one assignment a month. You might put in 40 hours a week getting this one assignment a month. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you're going to sit on your home and your couch and do nothing.
Yeah.
But you can find a property sitting on your couch easy. But let's say you do one a month and you only make $10,000 assignment. What's $120,000?
Yeah, not a bad.
Not everybody makes $120,000.
Yeah, for not having to touch a property, for not really,
Yeah, not worry about renters, not have to worry about anything whatsoever. It's not a bad business to be in. You're hustling constantly. There's no end game. Your business is that, and you can only do what you do. But it's a great side hustle. It's a great, maybe I'll do something like that when I retire. I just want to make a couple extra dollars, but I don't see myself ever retiring.
Absolutely. And so we talked about your worst flip, right? Let's talk about your best one. What's the biggest success you've had, or just one where something special happened? What was that? What did that look like?
Sadly, my very best one was my very first one. So I did a flip and got it at a really good deal, and it was right after I'd gotten that line of credit. So I was, looking, and I just found this one by accident, really. And I was talking to the lady, and she told me that her house is worth $5,000, but she wanted to sell it. Trying to work market because good work. So she wants somebody to cash. So I was like, it was like her courage to be. So I told her, I said, well, let's take 7. Which I already knew, so and I told her, let's take 7 for it. She's like, oh, I'll take 7 for it. Now I have a contract about $70,000 coming to it now, and I forget how much I put into it. But at the end of the day, I made $85,000.
Wow.
So our very first flip, $85,000. Then that's here, but here's our story that might have it's much. But here was about that flip pretty also. Yeah. And it also gave them the ability to learn what my brother worked here yet. So I'm doing it all myself at this point. And as I'm learning about deals on contractors, going up to little bugs, walk out the park. This, what do I do to this? They're always, I never have one person. I never, ever since how I asked about it, they mansplained it and go overboard, which is fantastic, but they learn. Uh, and I guess, just put yourself out there. But it was amazing and it was fun. It was a fun house. I mean, it was huge. That was a big place. But yeah, I made 85 grand on that first one.
Yeah, and that, for West Virginia and probably even just across the country, it's more than double the median income, right?
Oh, it is. I think down here is 34, 36.
You almost triple the median income in the area, and that's remarkable. A $70,000 purchase to make 80 grand. That's fantastic. So you said something in there that I have a question about, and again, it's more tactical. And that's why I love where this conversation has gone and is going. How do you find the contract? Right, like you're not, and not that John's not a handy guy. He drives a pickup truck. He knows what he's doing. But
I still have fun finding contractors. Believe me.
how'd you start?
And talking to people. This again, I had a guy that showing groups, and so he helped a lot. And I did do a lot of other stuff. Probably shouldn't have done this, but it gave me an excuse to buy all brand new, all brand. So I'm sitting here doing all the work. Everything. At this point, I don't do any of the work that I have. I've wired entire houses. Like I said, I used to be a teacher. I thought I was Texan. I called a friend of mine there was electrician. He taught electrician. So he's a master electrician. I said, I need to learn how to do this. I think I know how to do it, but I don't want to lecture myself. I don't want to play house right now. So Jay, you tell to teach. So he did. I paid for his time. I was like, I'll pay for time. I'm sorry to do that. That's no, I don't know. Now we redid this one house that was built in 17 something.
Wow,
it was old, and so I had to run all new wiring. There was no electrical wire. We ripped it all out and ran all new wire. So I wired the entire house. He stood behind me as I did it, and I wired the box. He stood there with me, made sure I was doing everything correct. So making relationships with people who do something in not real estate and construction is the key. Talk to people, call them up, offer to pay them for their time. I paid him for his time. It was a great education. And now I understand electricity. I hire electricians to do it now. But, at the time, I didn't have a whole lot of people. So I did a lot of the work. My brother and I were in there. We were cutting up baseboards and putting them in ourselves. And we were, doing different things. So, build the stuff up as you go. When you're doing things for stuff, it takes a lot more time, which ties your money up a lot more because now you're paying interest for it. So you learn as you go that you're best off having people that can do multiple things. The guy we use most of the time, he's extremely good at plumbing and carpentry. So guess what? That eliminates one extra contractor I got to get. So he does our plumbing and contracting. We have another guy who's an electrician. So when we go in, the first thing, obviously, everybody knows about demo day. We're ripping stuff out, building things. Plumbing and electric go first. That's what you do first. There's nothing in there. There's walls that are torn down now. If you have to make a hole in the wall, make a hole in the wall. We don't care. So we do that first. And then as we get that to where we need to be, then we start doing the other stuff, the framing and the different things you got to do. If you got to put a new roof on, well, that's one of the first things you do because it doesn't do any good to put new drywall in a storm and ruin your drywall.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the roof, So it's like you start becoming more of a manager, and manage your people and do it that way. Some guys go the route of actually starting a company and hiring people and actually work for them. We haven't done that yet. We've toyed with that idea and we've bounced it around. I don't know that I want to do that, but we are considering it. It's a possibility. We're talking to our accountant and our financial advisor to see, hey, should we do this or should we continue to pay contract and, tax implications. But we're evolving, especially when it comes to contract, because you have to have multiple on file because, one guy will do a great job 2 or 3 times, and then all of a sudden he just didn't show up. It happens. It happens in construction, and if you talk to somebody who, is in construction, they'll tell you even themselves getting workers to come work for them, it's day to day if they're going to have people. So it's something you keep, we have 2 crews that we use. So we have 2 going at the same time and that helps us too. So if one can't do something, well, then we have this one going, try to find, and we have contact information for 3rd and 4th crews.
That's great. So building out a good book of contractors is almost vitally important.
It's
Makes sense. So I think we've gotten a lot of tactical information. I appreciate everything you've given so far. Let's talk about you as a person and the success you've brought, right? So 7 years of real estate, you have a flourishing real estate sales business, a great investment wing, and you've blended all together. What do you think at this point? You've had a great career, multiple careers over different careers, all towards kind of service, like you said. What drives you to succeed today? Like when you got up this morning, other than being excited to come on this podcast, what got you up this morning to be successful?
I think it's just me. I think it's just mindset. I don't think about trying to be successful. I just expect it. And I think a lot of that came with the teaching aspect and teaching boxing in the beginning, and then teaching in general is I based my teaching method on something I read, a study I read probably in the early 90s, and basically went like this. There was a group of kids, and this group of kids were graduating from one school to the next. So whether they may be going to middle school or whatever, they were going to be leaving this school though and actually going to a different school now. And so the experiment was this group of people from one of the universities just drew 12 names out of, or 20 names out of a hat. It was a small number. And whatever the names picked, they went to the new teachers at the beginning of the year and said, hey guys, these are your special students. These are the ones we're expecting that may actually get moved up a grade, may start college early. They've shown great aptitude, and we think they're going to be special. So we wanted to give you their names so that you could keep an eye out for them for us and let us know. Well, at the end of that year, these teachers had been focusing on those kids, thinking they were going to be fantastic and doing really, really well. How well do you think those kids did?
I think they crushed it.
They were amazing. It's like kids who didn't do even anything were now top of the class. They were so successful. It was like, oh my Lord. And it's all because these teachers believed and expected them to succeed. They expected it. So people generally tend to live up to your expectations. If you expect to fail, if you expect people around you to fail, they're probably going to fail you. If you expect people to succeed, they're probably going to succeed. That's how I raised my kids. That's how I taught school. I believe in that philosophy wholeheartedly. So I just expect to be successful. I don't really have any expectations not to be. I fully expect it. I wake up every day expecting it's going to be successful. Yeah. Do I have bumps in the roads, and do I have stressful moments, and do I have issues? I do. But at the back of that, I always know it's going to get resolved. And I also live by a mantra that I've taught my friends, and I think people have heard me say this many times. I only have so much time to worry. I only have, if I spend my day worrying, that's all I ever get done. So number one rule, if it can be fixed with money, I refuse to worry about it. I evaluate it. I make a plan to solve the problem, and I move on. It might not work, and I have to reevaluate, make another problem, but I don't worry about it. I won't. If it can be fixed with money, believe me, that didn't happen overnight. That took years of training myself not to do that, because I still catch myself falling back into that trap. So I'm not saying it's simple, wave your wand and not worry about it anymore, because that doesn't happen. But honestly, it's a big deal to me. If it can be fixed with money, I'm not going to drive myself crazy worrying about it, because there are other things you need to worry about. Your health, your family's health, issues that happen in life, just daily life things. They deserve your worry. Spend your worrying on that. Do not worry on something that can be fixed.
Love that. Do you think, I know you said you came from, blue collar, kind of humble beginnings. Do you think any role in that affects the way and that attitude and that success mindset you have?
Probably. My dad came from, not too much, and had a very successful life. He was a deputy also, and worked his way up, became chief deputy, then he went on to the United States Marshals. So he was extremely successful, and it was by his work ethic and by his, his honesty, his dealing with people, building relationships. People knew they'd go to him and get stuff solved. So, people who, the federal judge, when they had a problem, he literally went to my dad and said, hey, I have a problem, and dad solved it, and then when the sheriff would go to my dad as chief deputy and say, hey, here's the problem, he would just solve it for him. So those people who are doing other things have somebody in their life that can problem solve and don't have to worry about it anymore. Became invaluable. So I've witnessed that growing up, and that's probably one of the reasons I believe in that so much.
Makes sense. That makes sense. And when it comes to your real estate career, sales, investment, You kind of blend them together with this answer. What scares you the most in terms of like a career based on real estate, if anything?
I guess what scares me the most is on a grand scale, the failing of our country. I feel like as I become more successful, there's people who are already successful that purposely put roadblocks for people like me to keep us not successful. And that's not a Republican or Democrat thing. I think that's just a thing, and I feel like a lot of those people have influence over our government officials. And I worry about that. That's probably my biggest fear, is that as I become more successful, I find more roadblocks to become even more successful, tax issues, just issues in general. So that's probably my biggest.
That makes sense. And I think even in terms of that too, in terms of roadblocks, from the real estate agent part and all of us, like, I work with so many, or just within our company, we work with so many first-time home buyers. And now, again, New Jersey's always been more expensive than West Virginia, but everything's reflective, right? Like higher incomes here, so higher home prices, lower incomes, lower home prices, but it's still really hard to buy your first home. And it isn't getting any easier. Like if we're being honest, like it's been hard for like we're sitting here, we're recording this at the end of July in 2024. Interest rates have been high for over 2+ years now, right? That was May of 22 when they first started spiking, and nationwide the prices have increased. Here in New Jersey, they're still skyrocketing literally as we speak. We have multiple offers on almost every property, and things are flying off the shelves, and first-time home buyers are, waiving inspections, doing a portion of appraisals if they're getting a mortgage, asking mommy and daddy to put up as much cash as possible. And that scares the living hell out of me. Honestly, like if I'm being honest, like I look at, I bought a house March of 2020 as COVID was happening. That house is now more than doubled in value. We sit on a big piece of property.
I bought my house in 2016,
and
so I'm so lucky.
But now I look out at someone who's just 4 or 5 years younger than me, trying to do the same thing I did when I was 30 years old, and the game has completely changed for them, and that's scary.
It is.
But I do love, because I know that a lot of people hate flippers. They say, "Oh, you ruin the area, it increases property values, like to make it unsustainable." I actually argue flipping and specifically investing beautifies a neighborhood, right? You take it. Flippers aren't buying the move-in ready house and then making it more expensive.
Exactly.
They're buying the dumpiest house on the block, and they're making it livable for a young couple to buy it, because it's typically who's buying the move-in ready home, and then they can live in it. So the roadblocks, though, is a big thing.
And if we have one of the things that I like to do help with that is if we have a client ahead of time, which we do sometimes. Sometimes we'll fix the house up just for the specific client. So we already have them under contract before we even do. Well, they can pick out colors. So you're buying a new house.
Yeah.
They get to pick out the countertops, things like this. Well, they can do that for a lot cheaper and get a lot nicer house actually than what it would cost if they bought the neighbor's house already done. I mean, sometimes they're saving 25, 50 grand by going through us, because we know what their budget is ahead of time. We can customize it to their budget. So they might not get every giant detail that some other house might get, but they're going to get a house that's really nice that fits in their budget so that they can afford to buy one. So we do that as well.
No, that's fantastic. And a few questions left. Number one, where do you see, you're already having success, and you talk about some roadblocks keeping you from getting to the next level, but like, where do you see this all going?
That's a thing I think about on a regular basis. I talk to my friends about, and I don't know. I have a pretty good life right now, and I see just staying. I'm pretty content. I don't mean to be that in a negative way. I'm still driven to go be successful, but if I just stay as successful as I am, I have a pretty good life. Well, more so than most people. And I go to bed when I want. I wake up when I want. I come and go as I please. I got it pretty good right now. I didn't always have this. I worked for this. Don't get me wrong. I didn't just fall into this. I busted my butt. And I did work 3 full-time jobs. I did do all those things to get to the point where I'm at. But now I'm enjoying that. And as long as I'm enjoying it, I don't see it changing much. The only thing I'm going to change is I am going to fulfill that dream of, I had a little kid, I'm going to own my own trailer. And that'll be my final retirement piece. My brother and I have been talking about that. We're working on it already. That's probably going to be my final. It'll never be my final. I'm still going to. Why would you not flip a house if you can't?
Yeah.
I'm not swinging a hammer. I'm not, getting all that dirty. I might be a smudge on my pants, but that's because I walked through with dirt. I'm not. Selling a house. I honestly believe a monkey can sell a house. It's getting a house to closing and building relationships with people. I don't ever want to stop problem solving. I don't ever want to stop building relationships. I love interacting with people and helping people. It makes me happy. So I don't really foresee myself ever completely stopping. I may cut back some because, I might want to spend a couple months, January and February in a warmer climate as opposed to here, but other than that, I don't see a whole lot of change because I'm really happy. And I don't know a lot of people.
No, and that's awesome to hear, right? As someone who's been working with you for a little bit, finding that balance is really tough for people, and you found it as you've grown these businesses. And there's one thing that I know you're going to be starting up soon that kind of blends all this together, right? The teaching, the share of, the success. Share a little bit about starting to coach. If you're listening to this and you say, like, I want to start my real estate investment, I don't really know how to do this, but I'm also a real estate agent, and I love everything that John is talking about, not me, John, other John, and I want him to coach me. Tell me a little bit about starting out coaching with us, what you're passionate about in that regard, what you're looking forward to.
Well, I'm doing your podcast, listener, so I'm sure they know that you have coaching for real estate and things. So I've been talking to you a little while now about possibly starting a coaching thing for people who want to do what I do, specifically the investing side. Not that I can't help them with real estate. I can do that too. If they're interested, I can help them do things with real estate, especially, social media stuff and things like that. But people who want to actually start getting into flipping a house, starting from, scratch. I need to find this. I need to do that. Can you help me, building a program? So this fall, I'm going to be starting a coaching program and with Natale Coaching. And I'm going to be offering new services to help people basically get to what I am.
That's fantastic. And we're obviously excited for this kind of change of pace, right? We are huge on building brands, and that's where we're building John's out right now. And he's done a tremendous job with that. And it's only really the beginning of that aspect, because once you have the brand as well, that's where the deals really will fly to you, right? Because then you become the real estate agent, the real estate investor of choice. People reach out to you. Maybe they have a system. Exactly.
I've already gotten deals from my videos. People call me and say, hey, I know you do this. My parents passed away and we need to get rid of the house. Can you help us?
Exactly.
There we go.
And it all becomes easier. So that's where John definitely fits in really, really nicely with what we're doing. We're excited to obviously, partner up and really work together in that fashion as well in the future. And if you are interested, we're not done just yet, but if you are interested, all of John's information is below, and you can reach out to us. Like I said, like John said, we'll be starting in the fall. 2 questions left, and they're really, really important. And this first one of the 2, you're actually going to give me 2 answers because we have two businesses here. Yeah. What's your best or one piece of advice you give to a real estate agent? And then after, I'm going to ask you, what's your one piece of advice you give to a brand new real estate investor? Let's start with real estate agent first.
That's the number one advice. Answer your phone. It drives me nuts. Every agent I know, and I'm sure that you had this problem too, I'm trying to call other agents to make deals happen and do things. They won't answer. I don't know how they make a living. I don't know how they do it. And we're talking more than half. We're not talking 3 or 4. More than the half of the agents I know do not answer their phone. I don't understand it. This thing is married to me. It goes wherever I go. I've actually pulled away from my house before to go to the store and didn't have my phone with me. I'll turn around and come back and get it. All right. This is my business. For a real estate agent, this is your business. This is your lifeline. Answer the phone. I can't emphasize that enough. Get on your phone. Call people. This is your number one tool. Use it, and it drives me crazy. I preach that so much. That's number one. And number 2 for real estate is we have the ability to design our perfect day and then do it. If you're working a 9-to-5 job, you can't design your perfect day. Somebody else is designing it for you. You have the ability, think back and think, a perfect day in real estate, what would it be? Write it down. Well, guess what? You're not going to make that your perfect day. It really is that simple. It's going to be work. Is it going to fail sometimes? Yes. It's going to be successful sometimes too. Design your perfect day, live your perfect day, answer your phone. That's probably my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, I love that. And when it comes to picking up the phone, because I struggle with this a lot too, not necessarily not picking up my phone, but dealing with other agents that don't pick up the phone. Now, I'm not the same age as John. However, I've been doing this 16 years, and I will tell you, even if you're a newer agent, I'm a millennial. I love texting. Don't call me unless you really need something. However, in real estate or any sort of negotiation, you cannot tell tone by text. You cannot tell or analyze tone by email. You need to pick up the phone. And that's how, if people ask me why I'm a great negotiator, do you want to know why? Because same thing, I pick up my phone and if you're the other agent, John, I call you, I read your tone, I give you the right questions, you provide answers, and then I get to read the situation. If you do that over text, it's never happening.
We can build a relationship when we're talking.
Absolutely.
I'm not building a relationship with somebody over text. I'll try, but it's just not that.
Yeah, 100%. What's your one piece of advice for someone starting out in investing?
Probably just what we talked about earlier. Get your finances in order first. You got to have that in order. You can't, if your finances aren't in order, you can't go do this, because this is a financial jungle that you're boggling stuff. You got to make budgets and you got to, fix it. There's so much involved. When I go and look at a house, I think it's either a 5 or 6 page thing that I'm filling out for myself. It doesn't go to anybody else. No one checks it. It's for me. And it breaks down what my budget's going to be. So then I get a number. So when I go to an investor and I say, this is the number I need to buy this house and fix it up, they know I'm not just making up a random number. I'm not just saying, hey, I need $50,000 for the house and $70,000 for the rehab for $120,000. Well, how'd you get that number? Well, it's just what I think it's going to be. No, it breaks down. How much is your electric bill going to be every month? You got to pay electric bill. How much your water bill going to be? You got to add those in. You have insurance? You got to have insurance. What happens if you're halfway through your house burns? All these things, those are parts of your equation that you have to have all this stuff, so being able to have your finances in order before you start will determine whether you're successful.
That's fantastic advice. And I totally agree. Like, being prepared, and that level you just took it to is not even something I thought about when it comes to starting out in investing, right? Is to have that all built out and be able to approximate those things and everything and the like. So that's fantastic. So we're here at the final question. It's been an unbelievable conversation. I appreciate every bit of the advice you've given, the tactical advice, the success mindset, all of it. I absolutely love this conversation so far. One more question. You get to meet 10-year-old John. You go to a playground, you go to wherever you played as a kid, maybe your elementary school, you get to sit down next to that little boy. What's the one thing you tell him?
Don't be afraid to start. Do exactly what you're going to do. No, I wouldn't change a thing. I would just do it a lot sooner. My brother and I talk about this all the time. Like, imagine if we started this movie. I don't think I could have started it in my 20s. I know a lot of people can. I wouldn't have had to do it in my 20s. It was in the 80s. I was in my 20s. That was just too fun time to be, live. So not like today, the world. We didn't have camera phones.
Yeah.
So I don't think that my mindset then would have been a good fit for this. I'm not saying other people in their 20s can't. I'm just saying for me, I know. But if I started this in my 30s, I'd be so far ahead. I'd have been long retired and set for life had I started this in my 30s. And not that I would have retired, but that's the one thing I would say, because I had all these ideas and all this stuff when I was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. I was already thinking these things. And, when I was in my 20s, I took the no money down seminars. I took all these different other things where people are making money on real estate and doing all this stuff. I did all that, and I went and tried to do things. I even tried to put a couple of deals together, and then would get scared to back out because I was, young and in my 20s, But then once I backed out of that a lot, I guess I got used to being afraid and I got used to not doing it. So then I just went with the path. I enjoyed my career as a deputy, so I didn't worry about it. I enjoyed my career teaching, so I didn't worry about it. Neither of those gave me the financial success I wanted, but they gave me the personal success that I wanted. So if I could go back to 10-year-old me, I would say, just do not wait. Don't wait till you're 50 to do this. So I'm 59, and I waited till I was 50 to do this. And if I had started this when I was 30 as opposed to 50, what life would I be in right now? My brother and I get example. That's a topic of our conversation. Woulda, shoulda, coulda type thing, If we'd have started in our 30s, we'd be so good right now. It'd be unbelievable. But no time like the present, right? I'm glad I started now.
Yeah.
So, but 10-year-old me, don't wait. Follow your dream. They will come.
Absolutely. And that's an unbelievable place to leave. John, appreciate the conversation. Appreciate your time here today. And if people want to connect with you, want to send you a referral, West Virginia is a little bit of a bigger state. Where in West Virginia are you? Where do you cover if they want to reach out to you and send you a referral?
I'm in the Eastern Panhandle, West Virginia. The main city here would be Martinsburg, West Virginia. Cover Charlestown, Ranson, Berkeley Springs, all the areas through here. There's 3 counties, Morgan, Berkeley, and Jefferson County. So Maryland sits, like West Virginia sits kind of like that. Maryland wraps around us up here. Virginia wraps around down here. So we're right here in this little panhandle. So we get influx from both sides because taxes here are cheaper and the laws are, I think, better. Prices are much lower, especially.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. You think New Jersey is expensive? Go try to live.
Yeah. No.
So that's what I do. And again, flipping side of things, I stick mostly in West Virginia. It's not that I won't do it other places. The only other place, we've done a couple in Maryland, but we prefer West Virginia just because it's...
Absolutely. No, it's fantastic. John, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.